Hello, my name is Moxey from Wolfspeed Power and welcome to In the Studio. But not just a regular In the Studio, we are on location. We are in sunny Nuremberg at PCIM. And I'm tremendously excited to have a gentleman sitting next to me who is an institution for power electronics. 50 years veteran of observing and driving this industry. Bodo, welcome.
Thank you for having me here. When I look back the 50 years, I remember introducing the IGBTs to the Europeans in the mid-80s when nobody was knowing what an IGBT was.
Yeah.
So that was an exciting time, reducing the losses overall in systems, like now with wide bandgap, especially Silicon Carbide in systems, reducing again the losses in system solutions.
Yep.
So
history repeats itself, doesn't it? And I remember, in actual fact, you won't remember, but I will. I remember in 1998, I was straight out of college, my first PCIM, you were presenting about IGBTs.
That's correct. I was working for RCA, which became GE Solid State, which became Harris.
Yeah.
And when Harris was turned to be sold, they dropped all what's power. So that was the time when I turned over into journalism.
Yes.
And a couple of years later, when PCIM magazine was going down and no longer supported by the Reed public system, I started my own Bodo's Power System magazine, which is now 16 years in the market, very, very successful with a Chinese franchise partner, and now my stepson is with me in the business, and as well his sister Franziska, so I can sit a little bit relaxed and let the magazine run.
Look back on your achievements, and I've got to say, Bodo, thank you to your team, because the last 2.5 years, of course, has been tough for everybody, and the search for knowledge, we're not visiting shows, we're not visiting customers, and you have kept us abreast of what's been going on, as ever, through your publications. You know, you've been a great ambassador for power electronics for a very long time, and you mentioned IGBT in the mid-80s.
Yeah.
So you've seen some trends come in, you've seen some of them stick, some of them not quite so sticky.
I see very clearly that for the higher power, and I would say for the line voltage and up, the SiC semiconductors are the solutions to make it happen. And especially if the electric vehicles will be dominating our future mobility, SiC will be one of the first choice in electromobility. And if you look farther up, the high-speed trains or traction, they will use very high elements that will go up in several kilovolt of
Yes, absolutely.
breakdown.
I think that's the fabulous thing about being in Silicon Carbide. You mentioned e-mobility of all types, whether it's a train, a car, a motorbike, but then you've got to charge them. Silicon Carbide then comes into that. Then ideally you're creating renewable energy to charge the vehicle. Silicon Carbide has an integral part of that. And then I think you've just sort of touched on it and alluded to it as well. Then when you get into that grid generation and distribution, You know, in the future, the not too distant future as well, silicon carbide has a fundamental part to play in that.
Yeah, you will. For years already, you see in inverters for photovoltaic, the silicon carbide diodes, the switches will follow now. Photovoltaic is one of the future energy resource which can be on every roof.
It has to be, yes.
And we have wind power, especially the region where I come from. Wind power is very, very popular.
Because you're in the north of Germany, aren't you?
Up in the north, I'm at the Baltic Sea, but Schleswig-Holstein is between North Sea, which is the Atlantic, and the Baltic, and I'm living up there in Kiel, which is the capital city.
So no shortage of wind.
We have enough wind. We feel it even in our office. We have a penthouse. It's a third level of a small building in the absolutely city center of the little village. And when the wind is blowing, we recognize this. And there is so much power in the wind and also in the water, the wave. There are so many projects getting alternative green power generated, and all these areas make it with efficient semiconductors, and silicon carbide is one of the best choice to be in the design.
Yeah, as our CEO says, Greg Lowe, it's a multi-decade opportunity.
Oh yeah.
And it's nice because, 50 years you've been around, and power's never been the most glamorous part of semiconductors, as you know and I know. And it's had its some boom times, but it's not digital, it's not software, it's not DSPs.
I know when I was working for RCA, nobody really put attention to power, but when I worked, I grew the business every year significantly, and nobody was really understanding, but everybody was looking to the ICs and to the fancy things. But the fancy things are now mandatory all over, but keeping the energy and that under control is now the main focus. So even historical solutions are still nice. Absolutely. I have a 49 years old Beetle convertible, which has nearly zero electronics, except I think some diodes in the alternator and in the radio.
Yeah, I mean, you and I both remember, when cars were getting fancy with electric windows, low voltage MOSFETs, window wipers.
Oh yeah.
We thought the semiconductor content of a car then was pretty impressive.
Yeah.
But if you then move to an EV, putting aside the autonomous sensing and control systems, the sheer power conversion, onboard charge, DC to DC, and of course the inverter is incredible.
The biggest problem I see with EVs is all that fancy equipment, including heating in wintertime, makes it difficult to reach the distance which is forecasted.
That's true.
So the battery systems must become better, and the network of charging stations must also be improved, especially here in Germany.
I would agree there. I mean, we obviously try and do our bit with silicon carbide to improve the range on the vehicle itself, making the system smaller, reducing the size of the battery, etc., etc. All well-known stuff.
Yeah.
But let's talk about charging. you know, there's this huge rush for infrastructure to be put in.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
I'm seeing it's lacking right now, obviously. Silicon Carbide is helping, making it more efficient, making it smaller, making it cheaper, but the infrastructure is lacking. But I'm seeing some very encouraging things done by various governments. I think the UK, for example, is it from next year or the year after, they've got to have, every new home has to have a charger installed.
Yeah, it's very encouraging in Germany. A couple of years we have a condo which is rented out to people, and about 3-5 years ago I put it at a owners conference that charging points in the garage must be possible, and everybody denied to have that.
You were ahead of the game as ever, Bodo.
Now by law everybody can insist on it.
Yeah. And then you have a charger, you have energy storage in your own home, you have solar on the roof.
Yeah.
All incidentally, by the way, enabled by Silicon Carbide. But Bodo, you know, it's great to see you. It's been 3 years, isn't it, since we last saw each other. You've done a fantastic job virtually with your conferences and again, your monthly magazines.
And so I want to say thank you to Holger and Franziska, my team, organizing and handling the magazine in an excellent way, since they are on board.
Yeah.
So I can relax as I'm turning 69 this year. Mm-hmm. And it's time to slow a little bit down.
Slow a little bit down, but keep giving the industry commentary, because you've got a unique viewpoint. And you know, as you said, why bandgap is coming in, and it's here. It's not tomorrow's technology,
Absolutely.
It's here today. And the way you analyze it, the way you communicate it, the advocacy for all power electronics is tremendous, Bodo. So I won't hold you up any longer, because it's the start, the first day of PCIM in the first hour, and you've got a busy 3 days, and so have we.
I will go and have it easy. I just want to say that I have my hobby refreshed from the childhood. Mm-hmm. My Märklin trains are out, and the whole roof area of our living area is filled with trains.
You have to do some live streaming, Bodo.
That's what makes life a little bit fancy and comfortable.
Excellent. That and power electronics. All right. I wish you a very good show. I look forward to being in your forum. And pleasure again to see you, Bodo. And I think we do the COVID fist bump. There you go.
Thank you for having me here.
Okay, cheerio. Thanks, Bodo.
Okay, thank you.